Hi everybody, this is Craig Tanner for The Mindful Eye and the Photo of the Week on the Daily Critique. This week's Photo of the Week was created by Dave, who's an advanced photographer from Michigan, and Dave recently created this image on the Mindful Eye's Teton National Park workshop. One of the things that I love right away about this image, and to me it's the most obvious thing about the image, is just this beautiful quality of the backlight of the morning sun coming through what looks like fog, but this is actually smoke. It's one of the reasons why the light is so very, very soft in this image, even though Dave is working with backlight as a quality of light. Have experienced fires quite a bit in Yellowstone, but not so much in the Tetons, but we did have a couple of small fires while the workshop was going on, and there were a couple of locations in the morning where we had quite a bit of smoke, and this is one of them. And Dave has taken the opportunity to create a beautiful image that is a lot about light. To me, this image is also about story, and by including Carlos, who is another workshop participant, in this beautiful quality of light, it adds a whole nother layer or level of story to what is really a beautiful stage to bring a person into. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about in this critique is if we're looking to shoot people in a very environment dominant way, this is a neat image to look at and to just sort of think about opportunities where some kind of a setting, it may be landscape, maybe architectural, gives us the chance with focal length of lens and camera position and framing to frame up a stage that is just sort of ready-made for a person to be in, and you really get a sense of that here. This is part of the trail. It's a walkway that goes over kind of a marshy area, and then you've got sort of two visual stops here on the edges of the frame, and a pretty simple area that has mostly negative space at the bottom of the frame, and then the opening, and then the light moving into it. It's very cinematic and very much like stage lighting. Just really beautiful how Dave has framed this. It's not a setup, this is a grab shot. You just saw Carlos shooting and took this shot, and a really beautiful job of framing a scene that works really well for a figure in the landscape. The other thing that I wanted to mention here is, a cliche idea if you were setting this up would be to put this person in a color that would really separate from everything. And I think one of the powerful things about this image is what Carlos is wearing is really harmonizing with the dominant colors of the forest. And then underneath Carlos here you have this warm bit of rust that creates some visual separation. But Carlos is mainly separating because of the accent lighting from the backlight through the smoke. And so to me, finding Carlos in this shot is more of a subtle discovery, and instead of Carlos sort of taking over the shot once you find him, it just to me becomes an idea that you can keep coming back to. You come down here and you get the color separation, then you come back to the main idea. It's a lot more of a subtle, understated effect, and I think very, very powerful, and a real powerful color idea to think about here. And it's also just a great example of how when we have quality of light that can create separation, so much of the time that's enough. The other thing that I think about quite a bit looking at this image is that the view 180 degrees in the other direction is very, very dramatic. It's one of the more classic views in the park, which is the Tetons reflecting in String Lake, one of my favorite things to shoot. But that's a much more mature subject. What do I mean by that? It's been photographed a lot. There are a lot of those pictures that are out there, and when we photograph mature subjects, it can make our job difficult in terms of being visual storytellers. People will compare our images to all the other images they've ever seen. It can be real easy for those images, unless something outrageous is happening, to be dismissed because people quickly say, oh, that's the Tetons reflecting in a lake, and then they go on. And I think another very powerful thing to think about here is shooting the classic shots, for sure. I mean, a lot of times our workshop participants come from halfway around the world. They're only going to go to this place one time, but also looking in all directions and looking for parts of the scene that may be more ordinary and looking for other ways to make them extraordinary, like color or like quality of light. And when we photograph a scene like this that could be a forest in many, many different places in the world, it gives the viewer a chance to move in and to tell a story that's about their own experience and to get possibly more psychologically involved in the story. I think that's a very, very powerful thing to remember. As we're photographing, it can be so easy to get addicted to taking the big view and the obvious view and looking for things that are more ordinary. A lot of times can be very powerful. The other thing that this image makes me think about is just a cliche that's sort of a myth about leading workshops in national parks or people going to national parks, and that is the idea that everybody goes and takes the same picture. And it's just not true. From teaching workshops for 20 years, I can easily say that the most powerful part of the experience for me has been seeing how different that people see, even in a situation that is very obvious. Maybe you're even in an area, there's sand dunes and there are mountains around, and you wouldn't think there would be that many different ways to photograph it, but it's just always incredibly inspiring to see with a workshop of 10 or 12 or 16 people, all of the different ways that people can see. It's so inspiring to me as a photographer and as a photographic educator. One, it just inspires me to just see what people can come up with, but it also inspires me to believe more in myself and to think that I can see more. I can do a better job of being present. I can do a better job of not just seeing more, but seeing in different ways. And most of our workshop participants say that that's the most powerful part of the workshop experience for them. A large part of our workshops are built around the idea of going out and shooting and then having positive supportive image review. And yes, we talk about design and composition, but really the main part of that review that's powerful for everybody is just going to a place with a lot of different people and you're all shooting in the same area, and then seeing all the different possible ways that the scene could be viewed and could be photographed. So just want to say a huge thank you to Dave for this particular amazing moment that he's created, and a big thank you to Carlos and all the other people that participated in our Tetons National Park Workshop. We're very, very excited to have an old, longtime friend, B&H Photo and Video, sponsoring our weekends in 2010, where we're going to be going to 6 different cities, and very excited about that. And we would love to invite you to join us for a weekend. And if you're coming here to the Mindful Eye for the first time this week from a B&H email, welcome. We really appreciate you being here, and we hope that you'll enjoy the free content, and we also hope that you'll join us on our community forums. We have one of the most positive community forums, in my opinion, on the web. We'd love to have you come and share your work there and be a part of that community. And just want to say a big thank you to all the people that support the Mindful Eye. Hope you have a great weekend, and hope to see you again real soon on the Mindful Eye.